Hi, and welcome to the ADHD Kids Can Thrive podcast, real talk, practical tools, and hopeful stories for parents and educators supporting kids with ADHD. I'm Kate Brownfield, your host and a certified whole person and ADHD parent coach. It's my joy to bring you advocates and experts in ADHD to help you on your own journey. For resources and coaching, visit ADHDkidscanthrive.com. Now, please enjoy this conversation. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm looking forward to this. Is my second conversation, part 2, with Dr. Tamara Rosier. She is, I'm just going to read, the founder of the ADHD Center of West Michigan, where she leads a team of coaches, therapists, and speech pathologists to help individuals, parents, and families understand ADHD better. She has written one book called Your Brain's Not Broken, which is a fantastic book. And then we're promoting her second book here, which is You, Me, and Our ADHD Family, which is a fantastic book. So I highly recommend this book as well, which you can find on Amazon. Okay, so let's get into our part 2 of our conversation. We wanted to talk today and use this time to talk about ADHD kids who are in that age group of like 16 to 26. They're maturing and growing into young adults, and it may not be happening for you in a straight line if your parents listening to this. Okay, so we're going to get into a little bit about why that's happening, how you can support your child through this next transition of your life. Okay, so let's start with, is it a trend that nowadays kids are having a harder time in this transition period after they graduate from high school and kind of go into young adulthood? Is that taking longer? And if it is, why?
It is taking a lot longer. Now, for a couple reasons. We've been, as a U.S. culture, we've been slowly able to elongate adolescence. And that's through kind of the way our society is set up. So adolescence overall has increased. And it's increased even during my lifetime, right? I don't know about your listeners, but I'm 57. When I was 18, kind of the expectation was you're going to get out of the house.
Right.
And I think I talked to my parents maybe once or twice a semester before Thanksgiving. And then I came home. I mean, it was just a different time, a different relationship.
Yeah. So like when you went to college, you barely
talked to
them. Yeah.
Barely
Because
talked.
there was no connection, right? You had to make a long distance call.
Right? Now let's think 20 years ago, I was a college professor. I'd be walking to class and I'd hear my students and students around me on the phone talking to their parents. Right? And that's not bad. That's great. I talk to my kids all the time. I love it. And now, so we're seeing a lot of generations. So I'm in Generation X. We had millennials, we had zillennials, and now we're to the alphas. And so through these generations, we have different relationships and expectations about adolescence. Okay.
Okay.
And I think it's a privilege to make adolescence longer. Okay. But sometimes with that privilege comes some punishment. So we got to talk about that today. But so that is for everyone. Adolescence is a little bit longer. Okay. Now, if you have ADHD, and remember, you mature on an average 3 to 5 years more slowly than your peers. There's something that I've seen in my clients that I have not read about, so this is anecdotal, but I see once some of my clients or the parents who I coach, their kids reach around 19 to 20 years old. It's like there's a backslide to acting like they're much younger. And I see that through their 20s it's a bigger discrepancy it's not just between 3 to 5 years. It's like, holy cow, this is like a 7 or 8 year gap.
Yeah. Between their peers and the kid who has ADHD.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then that's where the stress comes for the parents, right? Because you're like, oh my God.
Exactly.
How are you going to get out and live independently?
Okay. And that's the question I hear all the time. So here's another thing to think about. It's kind of aligned with genders. So if you have a 20-something-year-old ADHD child or neurodiverse, and the child is female, the mom has all the pressure to go, how is this person ever going to be a fully functioning adult? And if the person's a male, the father's like, I don't know how this is ever going to shape into anything looking like a man. So a lot of times parents have the most pressure are the same gendered parent.
Okay, interesting. Maybe because it's the most relatable? Is that why?
Well, I think it's kind of opted in our brains that, we have to raise the same gender parent. Like, hey, I've got to teach you, like I have all daughters, I've got to teach you the ways of being a woman in this world.
Yeah.
Right? Same for men. So, but anyway, so now we have these kids, delayed adolescence, and this reluctance to leave home.
Yeah.
And what do we do with them?
What do we do? Okay, I want to ask you too before, like bigger picture too. There's a lot of conversation out there that like gentle parenting is what is slowing down the development of our children. And and that's why maybe there's guilt being put on parents right now that they're being too gentle on their kids. And that's why they're not really launching very well into independence.
I wouldn't make that argument. I would say it's way more complicated than that. Millennials, when they were kids, now they're adults, but when they were kids, they were kind of the first generation in a while to have like these great relationships with their parents, and they were really close, right? And then they carried that expectation for when they had kids. And so they had zillennials and alphas and are having alphas. So a lot of the expectation is you'll have a close relationship with me. So it's not a bad expectation. I wouldn't blame it all on gentle parenting. I I think it is so much bigger than that. So we really can't focus it on one.
Okay, there's a lot of factors going on into this whole evolution of
Yeah.
kids taking longer to grow up.
Yeah. And I would like to add, like, it is more difficult to survive in society than it ever has been before.
Yeah.
It's more difficult to go to high school than it ever has been before. It's more complicated. And technology helps us, but it also complicates things. We have children on social media when they're in sixth grade.
Yeah.
That's a societal complexity that their brains aren't even ready for. And yet all their peers are doing it. And so things are so much more complex. And so they're challenging this cognitive development. And a lot of times the brains just can't process. We can't push people faster than what they can go. So,
Right. Even though society is trying to push that
yeah.
onto us. And the ADHD kids and the neurodiverse people get really caught in that.
Oh, do we ever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and so that's why it is so important. So I think some things that the parents are doing really well right now are they have relationships with their kids.
Which are important. Very important.
Absolutely important. I mean, for me personally as a parent, number one thing, always go after the relationship. Hey, we argued about your room being a mess, but I need to make sure this relationship is still good because it's the relationship, not the room that matters. So for me, I think across any generation of parenting, that is the number one thing.
Okay.
So gentle parenting, you can parent with any style and still protect that relationship.
Yeah.
But we get to the 20-somethings. Yes.
What do we do?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what is it about ADHD that's kind of impacting that launch in this age group? What is it about ADHD that makes it harder for them?
Everything. The answer is everything. Okay. But remember, it's a complex society. Okay. Now, I want to tell you about a couple trends I see, again, anecdotally, but I see some 20-somethings figure something out. They're like, wow, this grown-upping stuff, this seems complicated. And wow, I don't think I'm going to make as much money as I would personally have become accustomed to. You know, live in a place with free room, free board, and laundry service. Why would I go anywhere else? And they'll get in fights where their parents are going, I'm moving out. And yet, really, they do the math and go, I'm not moving out.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah.
I won't. And a lot of times, I spend a lot of times, the reasons I said I won't is I work with some people who have a career. They're still in their 20s, but they have like a career they went to college for and grad school for, and they still live at home. Why do you still live at home? I can't afford it. Now, remember, I'm a Gen Xer, and Gen X's answer is move out, even if you have to eat cream corn out of a can. True story. That's what I did a lot. They were 17 cents. How can you pass that up? This back in the day. But for crying out loud, you can't afford it. You just you want to live at a certain level. You want to launch at a certain level, and that's an expectation. So a lot of times we have to work with a student's expectations. Like they expect X.
Yeah. Okay. And so there's that kid, right? Which I get. They don't want to give up that
Right.
quality of life, right? And
Quality of life, exactly.
right. It's hard. Okay. But then there's the other neurodiverse kids that they're starting to numb out, if you will. Like they're dipping out of society because it feels too hard to participate.
Great point. Yes. Those are the kids, and it can be male and female. Okay. They're down in the basement gaming. So they might show up at they might show up for like a 6-hour shift at a fast food. They go downstairs and game the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Those are the slow to launch kids that we're talking about. In other words, they're spending their time not building their life. They're spending their time retreating from life.
Yeah.
Right. And obviously there's weed use and alcohol use that could go on. That's very common. And those kids are really, so with the first group, we'll just call them the expectation group. Those kids, as parents, we're going to help them adjust their expectations, right?
Yeah.
We're just like, oh, you expected this. Let me help you adjust this. Now, some parents are like, yeah, but I do want him to launch into the nicest apartment possible and the best career possible. Okay, then your child's going to live with you for longer and be okay with that. If you're agreeing with that expectation, then okay. If you're disagreeing with the expectation, then confront the expectation.
Yeah. Okay.
But now let's deal with the basement dwellers. And the basement dwellers, life is too big. Life is too heavy. And frankly, this growing up stuff, this isn't worth it. I don't like this one bit. And it feels hard. And now in our society, it's easy to withdraw.
Yeah.
Right?
It's very convenient, right? Yeah.
Yes. And I mean, we carry around this incredibly powerful computer that we call a phone, right? And so, parents will say, yeah, he's addicted to phone. He's addicted to gaming. I'm like, why wouldn't he? It's too scary, right?
Yeah. And it's too easy to be on the phone or the gaming, right?
Right. And why wouldn't I play a game over trying to build a real life? Because if I get shot in this game, I'm going to get another life.
Right.
If I fail in college, I'm a failure. So of course I'm going to take the easy way out. So, I'm positive you just had a listener go, yeah, okay, get to what I do about this. I've got that kid. Right?
Yep.
And remember, there's also anxiety that's going to accompany this, depression, rejection sensitivity. And these kids are probably doing a great deal of self-loathing.
Yeah.
Some of them, I talk to, they're like, I don't want to spend all this time gaming. They're mad at themselves. And usually, by the way, parents, it usually comes out directed at you, right? Because that's what we've been doing a whole lot. That is parenting, right?
Everything's your fault.
Everything's your fault. So we have to, as parents, let's deal with the basement dweller because there's still yet another category of kid, right? The basement dweller is probably stuck in self-loathing and can't move. Now, I work with a lot of great parents who are like, I'll just help you move. I have a fully functioning prefrontal cortex, so I'll help you. And these really kind-hearted, loving parents are just really pissing off their kids because they're pointing out, you're doing nothing right.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. So that's, I, and
That's
I,
a big parenting challenge.
it's huge because I know there's a compulsive helper out there going, but he needs help or she needs help.
Right. He
Who am
doesn't or she doesn't know what to do.
Right. And I have ADHD. I have a daughter who doesn't have ADHD. I see how competent she is and how not competent I am sometimes. I mean, I understand I'm a grown up. I have a PhD, but there are some things in life I'm not competent at. Like starting something on the stove and then forgetting it's there. That's not dementia. That's me having a short-term memory issue, right? So we look at our kids and go, they're not even competent. They'll burn the house down. They can't live on their own. And so we have to take this slow approach. So I'm going to recommend the parent do 3 things. 1, try to go, you're okay. You're okay. We're going to work through this. I'm not sounding any alarms. I'm not trying to wake up your brain by screaming at you, and we're okay. We're going to figure this out. And the messaging is, I'm trying not to alarm your systems because you're going to fight against me. You're going to go deeper into the games. You're going to do something if you think. Now, there are some parents out there, I'm sure, going, but it's not okay. And I'm freaking out. Okay, go get parent coaching for that. Okay. Because right now you just need to be, at least show the child you're calm.
Yeah.
Just like when they threw a temper tantrum and you had to be calm during that. You're going to signal, it's okay. I believe in you and I know you're going to be okay. That's the biggest gift I think we can give our kids. Like, it's okay. Things aren't working out for you right now. You're going to be okay. Even if a parent said, what if I don't believe it? I'm like, lie. Because the child needs to have that promise of hope, right? Now, if they do need help, like if there's depression, a lot of times treating ADHD with medication, I'm not pushing medication, but treating it can help a lot. And getting appropriate treatment can help so much.
To kind of
So,
get them going.
yes.
Yeah.
So that could be a thing. Then the third thing is to scaffold. And scaffolding, if you think of putting scaffolding up against a building, you're just slowly building so that people can get higher and higher and higher on the building, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to scaffold for this child. And it's going to start with your boundaries. Let me pause here. You cannot make your kids do a darn thing. And if you haven't learned that by now, well, shame on you because they've been telling you all along, right? So you can't make them do anything, but you can have boundaries. And boundaries are simply what you're willing to do and not willing to do. And I'm sure you had boundaries with your kids.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. And
Yeah.
so those boundaries change as they get older into this age group that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And they can be, they can feel like really strong boundaries, but they are boundaries that the parent can hold, right? That the child may not, the young adult may not agree with, but you can hold those boundaries.
And you hold those boundaries. So parents tend to, and I'm thinking there's so many parents now, like I'm imagining
In
right
your
now.
head.
Because they're always like, we got to fix the kid.
Yeah.
Like, stop focusing on the kid.
Yeah.
Start focusing on your boundaries. So we're going to scaffold some boundaries. So,
and I agree with you because once you get the boundaries going for yourself, it makes everything else more clear.
Yes.
On the actions that need to be taken by both parties, the parents and the child.
Exactly. And so boundaries, I'm just going to say this again and again, is just simply what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do. And stating it, I always recommend that we write down boundaries because people with ADHD will forget and legitimately forget. Now, sometimes we'll be kind of, trying to find a loophole.
It's good advice for parents too, because I think when you get into these like periods of like difficulty, it can help the parent to go back and read what your boundaries are.
Exactly.
It's a great way to keep yourself in line too.
That's exactly an exercise I take parents through. Um,
Okay.
and sometimes when I first introduce this, they're like, "Well, I don't have anything that I'm not willing to do." I'm like, "Well, that's part of the problem because if you're willing to do everything, your child doesn't have to do anything.
Right.
So we need to, you know, and and so a lot of parents are like, they jump to, you know, I'm so fed up with this. You're moving out, you're doing this, you're doing this. Let's not do that, right? So I'm thinking of one case where the student is in college, very smart. Both parents are highly professionally trained parents, and the student is thinking that he wants to go to med school. And parents are managing that going, well, then you're going to need a tutor. You're going to need, you're going to sign up for this one. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. Now, who is caring more about the MCATs at this point,
Yeah.
right? So a gift we can give our children is whether you fail or succeed, that's on you. I'm willing to walk with you, but I'm not going to, this is your game. You get
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
right? So one of my boundaries is with my kids. They hated it when I said this to them. So don't say this if you want to be popular, is I'm not willing to work harder than you are. I'm willing to help you because, man, I love you, kiddo. Not willing to work harder than you.
That's great advice. Yeah.
Right? So that's one of my boundaries. I just worked with another parent who mom and dad were just trying to help their basement dweller, and he's just checking out of life. Oh, they got coaching with me, and and he would yell at their child would yell at mom. So mom's like, "Dad, you just trying to talk to him. Dad's just quiet coacher." But then he would take the child's wrath, and the child is 27, by the way. Yeah, grown up territory, right? And so I took them through the exercise. Were you willing to do, not willing to do? And they're like, it's not reasonable for him to leave home right now. I'm like, okay. But he had an expectation that he would live at home until he found his career job,
Oh, yeah.
the grown up. So he was only applying for grown up jobs. And then he'd get sad that he wasn't getting a grown up job and
Yeah.
all that. So once, I took the parents through this exercise, what are you willing to do and not willing to do? The mom finally said, listen, I can't have a grown kid living at my house and not working. I'm like, well, this sounds like a value that you have. And she looked at me and she went, am I allowed to have that value? I'm like, in your own house? I think so. And so we talked about how she could express that value. And so the talk went like this. She waited till a good time where everyone was calm. By the way, I always prefer parents talk to their adult children outside of the home. Just because it's like this third place that's a little bit more level playing ground.
Everybody stays more calm in
Yeah.
public.
Yes, but it's also like we're not sitting at the kitchen table where I was, you know, coloring with crayons. We're not sitting.
Yeah.
It's just emotionally
It changes the dynamic. I like
it-
that.
yeah. So the conversation goes like this. Honey, I love you. I will always love you. I need to express something that's not working for me. What's not working for me is having an adult live at the house who isn't working at all. And I know you're trying to get your job, but I want you, if you're going to continue to live here, you need to have a part-time job. Now, in the past, anytime she brought it up, he would fight her on this. But this time she's like, this is a boundary. If you want to live here, I need you to have a part-time job.
Okay.
Now, your child could act in a couple different ways. They could go, oh, and just blow up. That's a technique to try to get you to shut up because they're in so much pain, they want you to go away. Or they could go, you're right. I'm a horrible human being. And what they won't say is, Mom, you're very wise. Thank you for getting boundaries.
Right.
And that's not,
Of course I'll do what you want me to do.
of course, this is reasonable. And while you're getting healthier with your boundaries,
Yeah.
that's not what's going. But no matter what the child says, you've spoken it. This isn't negotiable. Well, some kids will go, well, why? Why? Why now? Oh, is it that coach you're seeing that's telling you this? Right? you don't need to negotiate your boundaries. This is what I need. And if you can't do it, then you're going to have to move out.
Yeah.
And parents get really scared here. They'll say, well, how are you going to make me move out? That's the kid that calls the bluff. In that case, you just calmly answer, honey, I really hope it doesn't get to that. Don't try to think on your feet and think, I'm going to call in the military. No, they're trying to call your bluff. So it's a really hard place, but parents getting boundaries.
Yeah. It's a really hard place.
Yeah.
And it's just listening to you, it's like, it's baby steps, right? Just take it one step at a time as you're talking about, and little by little you make changes.
Yeah. Let's talk about empathy for a second.
Okay.
We love our kids. We are biologically programmed to run through fire for our children. But sometimes we can have so much empathy that we're enabling them not to do what they could do. So I try to help parents understand your kid is resourceful. And I ask in coaching sessions, when have you seen your kid be resourceful? And like, oh, heavens, when he was in 12th grade, and they'll tell the stories. So he's resourceful. We know that. Okay. Have you ever seen your kid be creative? And let me tell you, ADHD people, we're a creative bunch. I'm not talking artsy. I'm talking, we can think outside of the box. So they're like, yeah, he is creative. Let me tell you. Great. So he's resourceful and creative. How are you letting him be resourceful and creative right now? And they're like, well, we're really focusing on what he can't do. Right. So how are we focusing on this? And so I have a talk about how to see your kid differently instead of but he's suffered so much. Life is so hard for him.
Yeah.
And it is.
It is. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is.
And doesn't every kid ultimately just want their agency over their own life, right? It's really what every human being wants, even though they love their parents and their parents love them.
Right. And I personally think we should give agency as soon as, I think we should give agency in increments, like starting at 3 years old when they're expressing an opinion. Like, there are some things I'm not willing to do. Like, I don't like peas. I'm never eating vegetables. Well, that's not an option. That's not on the table, sweetie.
Yeah.
But, but I want to listen to this music today. Oh, that's great. You get to choose the music today. So, we give agency in small increments so that they can learn to handle agency.
Yeah.
Right.
And that they have the confidence to find it in their 20s, right?
Exactly.
That they can do it.
Yeah. Because I haven't known a kid who doesn't go through that very toddler stage of me do that.
Oh gosh, all the time.
You want to express.
Oh my gosh, when you put it like that, it's like, what happens, right? Over the time when they get into their 20s, you want them to be saying that. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I've got this.
So the parents are like, okay, what do I do to support them? So I'd love to I know I'm kind of throwing a lot at your listeners, but so what do I do when my kid gives me a problem? Like they have a problem. What do I do? Because I want to solve it for them. I'm a smarter adult. I've lived longer. I know how to solve it. So what do you do? And so I really want parents to, first of all, you cannot solve their problems. Even though you're a smarter adult, you can't solve it for them because it's not helping them. But you can listen. This is really hard. This was really hard for me when my kids were all in their 20s. They would call with a problem. And I finally had to put myself on mute. That way, if I did start talking, they couldn't hear it. Right? Because they would have to go through the whole scenario. Right? And then I would ask them just questions. So if they're like, Mom, I have this problem. But I put myself on mute, take myself off mute for a second and ask a question and go, oh. And either I'd ask, why is this a big problem? Or what did you expect to happen? Because I'm trying to get at, why and sometimes they would answer it like I was an idiot. Okay. They're like, Mom, it's a huge problem because of this, and this. Oh, right. And so I'm trying to get them to understand there's a difference between what happened and what they expected,
Right.
right? At that point. So I'm listening and asking a question. And I would be like, oh, wow. And I do all the, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. She sounded like a jerk. I do all that kind of stuff, right? And then I get to, well, what are your options? I'm not, I'm not giving advice. I'm just saying, what are your options for resolving this?
Yeah. Because you want them to come up with the options
Exactly.
for solving their problem.
Yes. Now, for your listeners who are listening and you don't have 20 somethings, great. Do this now. Do this with fourth grade coming with, playground issues, right? You're just trying to listen to what happened, what should have happened, or what were the expectations, and what are their options for resolving this. And my kids, I still remember this phone call because I was just leaving work. A kid called, said, Mom, I got this problem. And I put myself on mute. She went through those 3 questions without me prompting her.
Oh, she knew.
Well, in this case, I had been doing this with her since she was like 5 years old.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I remember driving down the road. She's like, okay, so here's what happened. And she's just going through this all. I'm like, oh, yeah. And I had myself on mute, so she wasn't listening to my, but then I forgot to take myself off mute. And she goes, well, I guess my expectations were, and I'm like, and I remember
She knew what you were going to say. Yeah.
oh, he's doing my job now. Great. And then she's like, I don't even know my options. And then I so badly want to jump in because I'm thinking of options. But instead, I waited. And remember, I'm on mute and driving, so I probably had to turn,
You're
which,
busy. Yeah.
and before I could take myself off mute, she started brainstorming. And it really taught me, don't jump in.
Yeah.
When they say, I don't know. Now, if she had said, I really don't know how to solve this one, then I would have said, would you mind if I gave you some options? Right? I'm not telling you what to do. I'm respecting your agency. Would you mind if I gave you some options?
Yeah.
Do you see that's a different way of parenting?
Mm-hmm.
Besides, you're going to take the MCAT on this date.
Right. And you're going to have a tutor and you're
Yeah.
going to do this kind of prep.
Yeah. And by the way, they were excellent parents. I'm not putting them down. They were taking too much responsibility.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not easy.
Well, no, we kind of think we're going to be done parenting when they're 18.
Yeah.
And anytime I work with parents, I'm like, okay, so we're doing parent coaching. I do have to tell you, like, ADHD brains are slower to mature. So we're going to play the long game here. And when you have a female who reaches 28, we can go, they're going to, fine. They're fine. When we have a male who reaches 30, because males run behind females, then we can sigh of relief, like, good. Now, will some kids outperform and do great earlier? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
You're usually not coming to me for coaching.
Exactly.
Oh,
If they figured it out, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But just as a general rule, 28 is when the female ADHD brain kind of coalesces, gets more organized, 30 for males. And you'll be able to see it. They can just run their lives better.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So it's a magical moment.
You know
Or
what?
can feel magical?
It actually is. I've had a parent too. I said, wait for it. You're going to see it. And you're going to go, oh my goodness, this is going to be okay. And I had a parent come back to me after a year of not working together. She just said, I just have to tell you, I got it. I got the moment. And it was her son, and her son was telling her how he was going to figure some things out. And she's like, I cried. This kid's going to be okay. And yeah, it is a magical moment. Don't miss it. It's what we've been dreaming of.
It will happen. Okay, so I love this talk because you're just kind of reinforcing it's just little by little, but really working on it in their 20s. And if they haven't launched, you got to still keep working on it. little
But you
by
have to
little.
parent totally differently.
Yeah.
You're an adult to adult, meaning, yeah, there's still a power difference, but I'm an adult with boundaries now. And remember, boundaries are only what I am controlling about myself. I can't make a boundary that you're going to have your room cleaned.
Right.
It's not a boundary. I can't control that,
I
right?
love that. You write about that in this book too.
Yeah.
And what you talk about with kind of what are boundaries and what aren't when it comes to ADHD kids and where
Yeah.
they do things differently. You really get into that. So I highly recommend everybody to read that too, because I think it gives clarity to parents, as you just said, on what's a boundary and what's not a boundary.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. A couple parents are like, well, here's my boundaries. And they kept making rules. I'm like, no, rules are not rules
Yeah,
for other
those are
people.
not boundaries. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Okay, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much for joining me today.
oh, thanks for having me back for part two.
Yeah, I loved it.
I really care about parents at this age, parenting this age. It's scary. It's just as scary as bringing home that newborn from the hospital.
Yes, and you think you get through the teenage years and that will be it. But when they're neurodiverse and the brain development is different,
Yep.
it can continue for a
Yep.
little bit longer. So I appreciate this conversation.